Theology Fairies. I'm Catherine.
I'm Mary.
And today we have special guest, MacDougall Womack.
Hey everybody.
We're super excited to have him, and now we're gonna jump into 20 questions with MacDougall.
So, first off, confession. It's actually 21 questions. There's only one question we did not tell you about.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah. And the question is, are you ready? The question is, what are you most nervous for in this interview?
It's the question about like insider knowledge about the youth ministry job or the career, because that was the hardest one to answer. I don't have a really good one.
Okay.
I have an interesting one,
Okay.
but that was the one. You wouldn't think that'd be the one that I'd stay up thinking
Yeah.
about, but it was.
That was one. Okay.
But I am excited about the question about what got ruined because it got popular. Because it took me a while to figure that out. 'Cause I didn't
See,
want to be a hipster.
We figured you'd have a long list.
No, I don't. I don't, but I've got a good one. After I
Okay.
thought about it, and I talked to Jennifer, but her answers were different.
Okay. Okay.
All right, well, let's jump right in.
All right.
We know you're a root beer connoisseur, so what's your favorite kind or brand of root beer?
Barks, and the reason why is because of caffeine. Most root beer don't have caffeine, and a lot of people that really like root beer think that Barks shouldn't be counted as root beer because it has caffeine in it.
Thing. So, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a politician. I wanted to go to college, graduate, and go to law school, be an attorney, and then be elected to the U.S. Congress. I really
You would be
wanted.
such a good politician.
Well, you know,
Be a
and,
scary good politician.
Yeah.
and nowadays you kind of wonder if that's even a compliment now,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
there aren't a whole lot of politicians you go to be like, wow, I really feel like that guy or that girl is always honest and straightforward. But that didn't happen.
Well, it's a compliment. You would be a really great politician.
I take it that way. Thank you.
All right, so coffee or tea?
I like coffee more. I do like peppermint tea, but coffee's my favorite.
Do you have a go-to coffee order when you go to like CC's or Starbucks?
I do. It's just black coffee.
Black coffee.
Ooh.
My wife is a bit more complicated. She has a fun order. I'm just fine with black coffee.
All right.
No cream, no sugar. I like it.
No.
Same. So, MacDougall, you always have the randomest trivia.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, what is the most useless piece of trivia you know that's also the coolest?
They can't make Diet Coke ices because the chemical makeup of Diet Coke won't let it attain that nice, almost frozen slushy mixture.
That's
That is
terrifying. That's the difference. She thinks it's cool. I think it's terrifying.
Well, because let's be honest, if they were Diet Coke slushy ices, those things would be bestsellers.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
All right, so what are your 3 favorite apps that you think no one else appreciates enough?
Google Keep is number 1.
What does that do?
So Google Keep is Google's note-taking app, but it also combines with their reminders, which
Ooh.
automatically integrate into Google Calendar. And of course, you can draw on it, you can save websites and pictures, you can share things with people. So, you know, as a boring parent, Jennifer and I share grocery lists and the Costco lists on it together.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I also like Google Hangouts, which almost no one knows about because, of course, everyone has iPhones and FaceTime.
I used to use that.
Yeah, well, FaceTime is
Big
what
Google Hangout fan.
Yeah, okay. Well, then maybe it's not so obscure, but I like it because that's what we use in regard to FaceTime
Yeah.
when you have an Android.
Yeah.
And the last app that I listed that I think is a little underappreciated is the Goodreads app. So, you know, I know y'all both like Goodreads. It's that kind of the Facebook for books website. But I like Goodreads a lot because whenever someone says, oh, hey, I read this book, you should try it, instead of just pretending like I'll actually remember that till I get home, I pull out my phone, open my app, and put it on my to-read list.
Yeah.
Goodreads is awesome.
That's a good one. We'll put our links for our Goodreads accounts down below so you can see what we're reading.
Maybe we'll add MacDougall's too.
So,
You have
yeah.
to find me. So I'm playing hard to get.
Like it.
All right, well, what outdated slang do you use on a regular basis?
I think weird exclamations like holy cow or goodness gracious saints almighty. I think things like that is things I got from my parents saying.
Yup.
I think those are the most archaic pieces of my lexicon.
Okay.
So, what is the dumbest accomplishment that you're proud of?
I'm really good at fantasy baseball.
Noted.
It's like one of those things that no one wants to hear about, but I like it a lot.
Fantasy baseball takes a lot of work.
It does. I'm in a league with my fraternity brothers from college. We've had it going for 10 or 11 years now.
Wow.
And it's one of the major ways we stay in touch.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. What book or movie do you know the most quotes from that you can recommend for our viewers?
I'm just going to say the original Star Wars trilogy.
Knew it.
Knew it. We called it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you mentioned being excited to answer this question. What was ruined because it became popular?
The Disney Fast Pass system.
Ooh.
It used to be.
It's genius.
It is. It used to be that if you were willing to do some walking around the park and you knew exactly when your Fast Pass re-upped, that you could be carrying 5 or 6 Fast Passes at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
And so you cut down your ride time. And it still worked if you wanted to be casual about it. You could still get several Fast Passes if you didn't want to just speed walk all over Animal Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
But now that it's an online registration system, all it is a money-making tool for Disney.
Yep.
Because
Yup.
park guests who pay more to stay on the park get access earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest disappointment from the most recent Disney trip was Disney doesn't save any day of reservations. So there aren't any reservations that they wait to release until the morning of, letting people that are just now getting into the park grab a couple reservations for some good rides.
Right, you can't get the good rides unless you do it a month in advance
I
or
remember
2
that.
months in advance if you want
Yeah.
the new rides.
No.
You can see
It's
that.
a Disney Fast Pass system. That
No,
was a
no.
really good answer.
So,
Thank you.
on the note of fictional characters, who is the fictional character you identify with most?
I'm going to say Miffany Thomas from Daniel O'Malley's The Rook.
Yes.
I
You got me
really-
to read that.
I really like the book in general, and I'm a little surprised because she wasn't the first one that came to mind. But when I thought about it, I kind of liked the fact that throughout the whole book, she's trying to figure out what's going on, and she's learning as she does, and that's most of us most of the time. And
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out what's the best way to figure this out, or what am I supposed to be doing here? So I like that a lot. And I also like that after her significant life event, we won't give any spoilers, she gets a lot more snappish, maybe a bit more assertive. I like that. All right.
Yeah,
Got a strong will. I like that character.
Mm-hmm.
it's true. She's a good character. Have you
Yeah.
read that,
I
Catherine?
haven't read it. I'll put it
You
on my
gotta read
to-read
it.
list.
Read The Rook. It's good stuff. So, what's the most ridiculous thing you've ever bought?
Okay, so Catherine, do you know, I'm sure you've heard Mary talk about how late Mike MacDougall has a really weird sense of humor. Yeah, it's true.
Comedy gold.
When I get tired and it's late at night, my sense of humor just changes, and I find things that are a little weird just a lot more funny. So it was New Orleans, and it was about 11 or 12 at night. It was after a fraternity formal senior year, and my date and I were walking down Bourbon Street, really just talking, and I decided we should buy some feather boas. So I bought a purple, green, and gold feather boa because those are my fraternity colors, and I wore it around the rest of the night, and I thought it was hilarious. And you wake up and you're like, I wasn't intoxicated, I wasn't high, but you wake up and you're like, what am I gonna do with this?
Yup.
I mean,
Yup.
who can I give this to?
My date doesn't need one. She already has one.
Well, I bought her one. She got her own. So that is the weirdest example that I've got. I
Respect.
had no use for it at all. I just thought it was funny late
Do
at
you
night.
still have it?
No.
Oh.
It didn't survive the many moves since college.
All right. If you could have a conversation with anyone in history, who would it be?
I thought about this a lot, and unfortunately I don't have an exact name. What I was going for was someone who was a uniter, someone that brought people together, because that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to bring people together. I'd like to bring my family together. I'd like to strengthen my marriage. I'd like to strengthen my friendships. And I really don't know who I would say that would be. A couple old presidents come to mind. Abraham Lincoln kept our country together during some strife. The Roosevelts both held the country together during some tumultuous times too. But that's the kind of person I would want to talk to. Maybe that's someone in lines of a Martin Luther King Jr., but that's the kind of person I would want to talk to.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And
there are so many great uniters too. So, see, we know that you really love The Rook.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the book that has impacted you the most that you could recommend to our teens?
That is The Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer.
Ooh.
It was recommended to me by my youth minister.
Mm-hmm.
I've read it multiple times. I normally am not one for writing in the margins of books. I just don't normally find it to be helpful, and I feel like, I've got to have something written down because that was a good paragraph. What do I say? I had no problem reflecting on this one. It was a quick read. The chapters are cut up so that you don't feel like you're having to do too much at once. It sounds a bit heady, but in all honesty, it really just talks about how we get in our own way with our struggles, with our anxieties, with our fears, with the way we treat other people, or the way we focus on the wrong emotions. And I think anybody could relate to it. I've recommended it to a couple court members, a couple friends, and I think it's worth the time.
Yeah, I read it as an ACT member's suggestion. So
Is that Amanda Floyd?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know she enjoyed
shout
it
out
too.
Amanda Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a goodie. And you said Joyce Meyer wrote that?
Joyce Meyer, that's right.
We'll link
to it.
You can get it on eBay for pennies.
Yeah.
It's been out there for a little while.
All right. So how has being a youth minister shaped your life?
The biggest thing is I struggle to surrender control because I tend to think, well, if I have a plan for everything, then everything will go well. And our teens will have a great experience. They'll enjoy themselves. They'll deepen their connection to God. The core team members will enjoy it. They'll become even more impassioned volunteers. So the biggest way it's impacted my life is it's given me a lot of opportunities to surrender control to God. I mean, every life night, every junior high meeting, every retreat or trip, or even just a game night that I want people to come to and have a good time, I end up just saying, all right, God, look, I'm going to do all this work, but I just want it to be whatever you need it to be, and let us have a good night. And every time I think to stop and take the time to make that prayer, we always come out with a really positive experience, because it stops being about what I think it needs to be, and it starts being more about what God needs it to be.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
What is a piece of insider knowledge? Your favorite question. What's a piece of insider knowledge that being a youth minister would have?
Unfortunately, this was the hardest one. What I came up with is this. A lot of times when we order food or make reservations on trips, hotels, buses, we go to Lacey Tag or Baton Rouge, whenever we buy anything, people always ask us, okay, just send us your tax-exempt form. But at St. Aloysius, we voluntarily choose to pay sales tax on everything we buy. Everything.
That's cool.
And the reason why is because we believe that's our part of being part of the community. I mean, sales tax helps to pay for infrastructure, pay for healthcare, pay for education. I'm sure it goes a lot of places. You know, it's true that the church our land is immune from tax. It's tax-free, and that's a pretty big gift because we have a lot of land and a lot of buildings. But one thing St. Aloysius has chosen to do is to always pay sales tax. And so that's the only bit of insider knowledge that I can think of, but I still think it's pretty cool.
That's such a cool piece of insider knowledge. How long has the church done that?
Certainly as long as I've been here, because
wow.
that was one of those things that when I got the job and the first time I got asked for a form, I was thinking, oh great, well I'll save some money. Let's go to the bookkeeper and get this form. And they said, we don't do that. And they explained the whole, albeit short, philosophy behind it.
Mm-hmm. That's really special. That's really, really special. Do you have a funny youth group story? Does something stand out as the funniest youth group story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you were here for it, Mary, but it was my first year, and it was at a junior high youth group meeting. And we were doing that meeting that's our favorite, the Final Four, about death, purgatory, heaven, and hell.
Classic.
And the way we chose to create ambiance or environment for purgatory was by grabbing the youth group smoke machines.
We have a youth group smoke machine.
We have 2 of them.
We have 2.
And we pumped the girls' locker room in the old gym full of smoke because I was going off that whole idea that in purgatory, the image of it being full of mist and you being able to see God off in the distance, but you don't see him clearly because we haven't totally gotten ourselves clean yet. And it set off the fire alarm. So, of course, we're trying to turn off the fire alarm. The fire alarms are linked all over campus.
Oh, no.
So when one fire alarm goes off in one building, they all go off all around campus. No. It was during 11 o'clock mass. And we were having adult confirmation. We were having the sacrament of confirmation. And Mr. John Bennett, the school principal, who was my principal at St. Aloysius, comes barreling into the gym. And my eyes must have been wide as dinner plates because I was just like, what did I do? So since then, it's been harder to use the youth group smoke machines because I'm not sure how to not set off the fire alarm.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you have a favorite Bible passage or parable or biblical figure?
My favorite Bible passage is Luke 21:15, and it's where Jesus is telling the apostles that they're going to be handed over, and they're going to be persecuted, and they're going to be questioned, but then not to worry about what they're going to say, because Jesus' promise is to give them such a wisdom in speaking that their adversaries, their persecutors, will be powerless to resist. And I like that because even though I enjoy public speaking, we all worry about what to say and when to say it and what's the right way to get something across. And that's my reminder that I'm not going to worry about it, that Jesus is going to tell me what he's going to say. And it's not like I'm going to hear some voice in my ear, like a heavenly microphone saying, okay, yes, Lord, I'll say that. That's a great idea. I just hope that he uses me to say what he wants people to hear. So that's my favorite Bible verse.
All right, this is the fun one.
Oh, good.
Is there a teaching that you struggle with?
The first thing that came to mind was the death penalty. Because, just recently our church changed our catechism regarding the death penalty. We said we are no longer for it in any circumstance. I was stunned when that announcement came out. Not because I'm pro-death penalty, but because I'd always been taught the church was against the death penalty. And we had a big conversation on the adult core team group meeting. We were all snapping pictures of our catechisms. I learned mine is woefully out of date. And I didn't understand, how can we be a church that calls itself pro-life from conception to natural death if we're going to be pro-death penalty? And I'm sure that the church outlined it in some very specific and rare circumstances, but I couldn't wrap my head around that. And I was fortunate that I didn't learn about it until the church changed to mimic my opinion. Not really, I just had a good teacher. But still, in any instance similar to that, I would definitely encourage someone to ask why. Like, why do we believe this? Why do we teach this? Where does this come from? And to try and get a sense of the time period as well, because it's always fascinating when a priest cracks open a gospel reading in Mass and says, okay, look, at this time, this is what this meant to the ancient Jews. And you say, wow, okay, I had no idea they did that. That's interesting. Well, similarly, I'm sure a lot of our church teachings revolve around a pivotal saint or a conference or a moment where someone really had God's thoughts in mind and said, we should look at it this way. And so by asking why, and by going and talking to other Catholics you trust, priests and deacons, sisters to be sure, spiritual directors, trusted parents or teachers, you can start to figure out how you can get behind that belief, because people shouldn't believe something because the Pope says it or because I say it. They need to believe it because they believe it. And they believe Jesus when he says it.
That's great.
That's really good advice.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So sort of building off of that, in what moment in your life have you felt closest to God?
It was at my son Thomas's baptism. So we baptized him when he was about 3 months old. So that would have been about November of 2015. And it was a great moment. It just felt so happy, so at peace for him to receive that sacrament. He was great during the Mass as well, but that really stood out to me when I thought about this question.
It's a really sweet moment.
Oh. I told you it was going to be related to one of his
You
kids.
said it was going to be at the birth of one.
I did. I did think it was going to be one of the births of your kids. So, last one.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Aquinas or Thomas More?
I'm a bigger fan of Thomas Aquinas.
Score!
I love Thomas More, and I did like him a lot when I was growing up in grade school because Mom would teach me a lot about him. She knows more about him than St. Thomas Aquinas. But when I read more about St. Thomas Aquinas' life, he is a mind-blowing person. It's also nice to know that he was called the dumb ox because people thought he was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And so how many times has someone doubted you or doubted me, and we found the gifts, we found the passion to triumph, to succeed, to overcome. And I love that about him too.
Respect.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a rumor that your confirmation saint was Thomas Aquinas, Thomas More, and Doubting Thomas. Is that true?
Yes, that's totally true.
That's so nifty.
Couldn't choose between them, and I mean, I'm sure the youth minister, the confirmation coordinator at the time looked at it and said, that's fine. Your name tag's just going to say Thomas.
Not Thomas cubed?
I mean, and I get all the saint names, okay, for confirmation, and I've never, ever had someone ask for more than one person, okay? So clearly I'm the difficult one.
One of my oldest friends picked 2.
I
Really?
didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, it's an option.
I mean, I gotta be honest. If someone did it, I would just say, huh, okay. And then I'd put 2 names on the name tag.
Yeah.
And I'll let the bishop say what the bishop wants to say.
Yep.
Good to know.
Good deal. All right, well, I think that wraps it up. That was 21 questions with MacDougall Womack. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome.
And thank you for hanging out with our audience and with us for a little bit. And I think that wraps it up.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All
Until
right.
next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.